You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Chief Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Resurrection After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Resurrection After Show.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's Resurrection at AFTERBUZZ. We're talking episode 103, Two Rivers. I'm your host, Zach Wilson, and joining me on tonight's panel, as always, the lovely Chelsea Briche.
Hi, guys.
We got the ever-manly G. Madison.
I'll take it.
And Matt Lieberman.
I don't need a descriptor.
No,
Yes,
he's
you
just
do.
Matt Lieberman.
I'm just Matt Lieberman.
The man who needs no introduction.
That's
except
fine with
the
me.
one I'm giving him.
Thank you.
Let's get right into it. First reactions. What did you guys think?
I thought it was a very interesting step forward, especially considering the tone of the last two episodes. What's becoming more and more apparent to me as the show goes on is the decision to make it about the real people handling this situation and making it an intimate drama instead of like a globe-spanning sci-fi series.
Yes.
Is very, very smart because we stay very, very grounded in how these people are feeling, grappling with this massive situation that they can't possibly understand. And I think the most interesting and really important aspect of that is that Marty, he is a law enforcement official, but he effectively has no jurisdiction. He's not an FBI agent. He's not, the kind of guy who's running around with a gun. He is just a guy who is curious about the situation and concerned about a boy.
Well, he is running
He's
around
so
with a gun.
invested.
I know, but he doesn't have a ton of authority to use it.
He does have a gun, yep, and he plays that badge right out there so everyone can
Right.
see it. Like he is FBI. That's
But he's more
bastard.
like casual man of action,
Yeah, what I found great about this episode was that it keeps building on this sort of what you were saying. It's sort of slow. Mm-hmm. It's not a heavy-paced action show, but it's very like interesting, intriguing. It's got a lot of that fantasy aspect that I'm so interested in. That's like part of why I watch television is for stuff like this. And I always go back to the Lost comparison. It's begging for it with a mystery show like this on ABC. But what made Lost so great to start out was that it started out slow. It was a simple premise of people crash on an island and they have to rely on each other to survive. The sci-fi elements of that show came in slowly. You got like the little tease in the pilot of the monster, like something out in the woods, and that was it. And then it was just about people. They introduced a much bigger start where but you just dropped these people in, and then we're just dealing with their reactions. This could be happening globally. We don't know.
But this is a very intimate look,
Yeah.
a little microcosm, just asking a big question, what if people could come back from the dead, and seeing how people deal with it on a very small scale.
And that works really well because we all want to connect with each one of them because of that reason. Because they make it like that, we can all go, oh, I get that. Oh, I know how Henry's feeling. Oh, I get how so-and-so's feeling. And Mag, so if they made it so big so quickly, we would be so we'd be so
Too
separate.
much.
Yeah, we'd be
Yeah.
so distant to the story.
It'd be hard to relate to the people, and I feel like we can really relate to
Really?
a lot of these characters and what they're dealing with. Anyone who's ever lost someone, we're getting a nice cross-section of all the possible reactions to death in a family. And all of the people are very different. There's no wasted space on this cast. Everyone's pulling their weight, and they're giving a different perspective on loss and rebirth.
Exactly, and it's no clearer than when we have Henry and Lucille showing, and they really get into it in this episode, how they dealt with Jacob's death differently.
But I think it's really important that that stuff is starting to come out because when watching it, even the four of us sitting there, we have so many emotions. And I think that this is the first episode where we saw real genuine emotion from these people. That scene between Henry and Lucille when she just said, "How dare you?"
Yeah.
That was really intense. And I feel like even though we're only 3 episodes in, I've been waiting for something just to be like, to grab onto.
I've been actually waiting to connect with Lucille. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I've been watching her go through this, and I totally feel her because she's a great actress. But her character comes through so much clearer to me, and I get to connect with her because now she's like, you know what? How dare you tell me that I'm getting over it? Just like I'm over it already. Like I'm finished. And it's really nice to see that. I mean, it's sad, but it's also nice to see that she is human, you know, in that she
and not
feels
just so completely accepting in this
black and white, black and
completely
white.
bizarre situation.
Yeah, because she jumped onto it so quickly.
Yeah,
you know,
she left us behind.
that we need that moment to connect with her and realize, you know, just how painful this loss was for her, and that, you know, just because she has hope that their lives can achieve some sort of normalcy again with this new Jacob doesn't mean that she doesn't miss the original Jacob every day.
But her point, which I think is really solid, why does there have to be two of them?
Yeah.
Why does there have to be two separate people, an old Jacob and a new Jacob?
Well, it's very clear in this
there
episode,
is two.
There are two, and there's one in the coffin, and as Maggie says, there's a carbon copy, or what appears to be a carbon copy, walking around alive today. And he even pull Marty snips off the tag from the body,
t-shirt.
and it's identical.
Yep, with the Jacob written out in marker.
Almost like you scanned it for a 3D printer and just printed out a new Jacob.
And for my stomach, I'm so glad they didn't show the the remains in there.
It's still ABC. You
Oh,
can't show a
man.
kid's remains.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
like, thank you. Please don't zoom into that. But that they definitely did show us enough to know, like, wow, there is two. And so Henry continuing to say this one and that one, right? The one we had and the one we have now, and separating those two. And then for Mom, you know, from Lucille to definitely say, why does there have to be two? Shows you that she knows there's two.
Right.
Like,
And
there's
I don't
no
know
denying
if,
it.
absolutely. And I think she was saying that in more so of a way, not clearly there's two separate boys physically, but I think that she meant kind of soulfully. You know, why do we have to separate if their personalities are exactly the same? Why
and they
does-
look exactly the
and-
same.
Right, they're the same person.
Good
why
point.
do you have
Why
to?
can't we lie to ourselves a little longer? Which is
Well-
what it feels like to me.
Yeah, they appear, for all intents and purposes, he appears to be Jacob, at least as far as we can tell right now.
Right.
To me, Jacob's getting kind of creepy.
Creepy, yeah.
A little bit.
When in that scene with the boat, when he says, let's build a boat, like before, it felt to me very calculated.
Rehearsed,
So-
like a line, like a script that he
Like,
had.
it's how you talk to, it's how like a parent talks to, or an adult talks to a kid they're trying to connect with. They're trying to build a relationship by connecting to something that the kid enjoys.
So you're saying that
So-
he looked for something specifically to get an in with Henry.
Exactly. That's what that read like to me.
See, I want to agree with you, but I'm completely on the fence about that particular scene because to me, I am so viewing Jacob as a kid, and he is so desperately wanting to connect with his father because his father has this huge wall built up. So I'm on the fence of taking it as he just knows that if he takes a little nudge to his dad, then he's going to get this connection. But at the same time, you guys are completely right. There is that creepy aura to it that there was something so much more behind the boat or wanting his dad to get closer to him.
Well, here's the problem, right? As viewers, we're watching a child grapple with the idea that he was dead and now that he's alive. And just on the basis of that alone, the kid is going to be a little spacier
Right.
and a little weirder than you know his parents would remember him because he's dealing with something impossibly big. So the big question for us as viewers, how much of that is a child grappling with the fact that he was dead, and how much of it could it be something far more nefarious, something evil brewing underneath him that he may not even realize or understand because we ultimately don't know what these things are.
Right.
Are they people? I mean, genetically they are, but
Fred
who
asks
knows?
the question, "What are you?"
Yeah.
He turns to Jacob and
Chills.
because Fred, that
Yeah, and the way he stared at him as he walked away.
I mean, because Fred is right now not looking at Jacob as a child. He's looking at him as like a pod person, basically.
yeah.
Fred is just looking at
Rightly
Jacob like he's
so.
this little robot. I think it's very clear that he has no filter and is so not worried about Jacob's feeling, let alone if he's a kid or a 75-year-old man. It's seems like he just wants answers and doesn't care if he hurts him or not.
Right. But his way of walking up to the house and saying, "Okay, let's play like old times." I actually got excited for Jacob and their connection to get kind of rebirth, and is he really trying?
Totally thrown out
but
the
he
window.
was
he
was just using him in this hunt for answers.
Let's get him as close as I can
about Barbara's death. You know, I don't want to skip ahead and talk about Fred's scene. I'm sure we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
The scene in the bar.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. But what I loved most about this episode, really my favorite part of it, is getting a view into Henry's mind. Because last episode, you know, the last two, we've just seen a lot of resistance on his part, but we haven't gotten to the whys and what is he feeling in this moment. And bringing us back to that wonderful scene between him and Lucille, where he talks about, you know, he blamed himself for Jacob's death for a long time.
He taught him to love the river.
He taught him to love the river, and we're also going to get into the river.
Oh,
a bit.
yeah.
He taught him to love the river, and you know, he says he doesn't blame himself anymore. But I feel like having this kid be here is a reminder that it was on some level his fault.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't know how to reconcile that fact. And I think it will be so therapeutic for him to start connecting with this boy and making up for lost time. But he's not ready.
Yeah, well, he keeps hurting himself every time he breaks down to do it.
That's what he says every time I look at him. And
psychosomatic tremor in his arm brought on by the stress of Jacob's death that's now resurfaced and is incredibly dangerous for him.
Can't imagine what that would feel like. I mean, to lose a child, to have your young child die before you. Oh man,
it's the worst thing in the world.
Well, let's talk about the river a little bit.
Okay.
Because the river they just introduced an enormous piece of mythology to this story.
Right.
At least that's how I'm seeing it.
The two rivers that converge on the site of an old Civil War battle that was so violent that the river ran with blood. But all of the people who have come back have some connection to this river. Barbara, who we haven't seen yet, and Jacob fell in the river. Caleb's ashes were spread in the river.
Well, we don't know. Let's just be clear on that.
Yeah.
There's no evidence to suggest that Barbara is coming back at all.
Fine. I'm on my high horse because of the whole scene with Sam last week. We still have not seen her yet. You're right. There is no proof.
Yeah, I just want to be clear about that. But the two people that we've met so far, at least at that point in the episode, are their remains have been in that river. Caleb was in the river. And Jacob was in the river, and then we find out that Caleb's ashes had been part of them at least had been spread into the river, which that was the moment I think even Maggie starts to realize, which is on the hike, there's something connected here.
I mean, it's getting crazy too, especially if you think
Matt has a theory.
Yeah,
I have a crazy
of course
theory.
You do.
Go.
But like for all of the soldiers that have died in that river to make that river red. I mean, to think that just being in the river and dying in it makes them come back would mean a whole
mess of Civil War soldiers are totally coming back.
Well, when Maggie ran over to the river and scooped up the water, what did she try and do with that?
You do a chemical analysis.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if you're going to go into, like, we're obviously dealing with some sort of magic here that they talk about. Like, there's potentially, but there's something. There's whatever you want to call it. There's something supernatural at work here that's brought these people back to life, or super technological. I guess it could be a different take.
I'm leaning more technological.
Okay, I want to hear your theory on that. But like the Civil War soldiers all dying in there, if you're treating death as a force, life and death as a force, that much death in one place might create some sort of balance that's outweighed by bringing people back to life.
There's a karmic imbalance of all this death, so now the earth is compensating by bringing people back to life. But my crazy theory, theory is,
more?
I mean, aliens were brought up in this episode. I know that it was from Ray, and we can't necessarily trust Ray's opinion on that.
I trust him.
I trust him too. But what if aliens took a sample of this water, and in that sample was the DNA of two people? What do you do with this?
I think we stick with that being a crazy theory.
You clone. I mean, that's not insane of a theory.
But the big question is, no clone would have the memories of the person that they were
these
cloned
are the
from.
same people.
Not in the
I don't know
sense that
about
we
that,
know
Jess.
cloning, just growing a person from DNA. But if you assume that the brain is a map of all of your memories and feelings, then if you can figure out a way to bring that up, if you go like the 6th day on it or something.
Okay, well, yeah, but now we're getting into deep sci-fi. But here's the thing. Fine,
Exactly.
all of Jacob's body is in this river, but only half of Caleb's remains in there. So are in there. So, you know, it's not like they dumped all of his brain in there. There's no way to be sure.
Yeah, I think you're stretching it. I think there's more to it. I think
We gotta come back
I think
down
this
on
is early in the season. I think
I
they're
agree,
stringing
G,
us
I got
down.
you.
G, it is never too
They're
early.
taking us down the river. on
There's
this one.
always time for wild theorizing.
Oh, there's time. Just don't get too.
Okay,
don't drown
okay.
yourself
All right.
in the river.
But let's
'Cause you
talk.
might come back.
But there's so much to talk about. We're gonna talk about Ray and his theories on the situation. Right after, we're gonna take a quick brief moment and talk about iTunes.
Let's do it.
Folks at home, can I implore you? Can I ask you for your help? I want to enlist you in our resurrection team. We need your help to make this show the best it can be. Go on to iTunes. Go on to the YouTube. If you go on iTunes, give us a rating. Go on and leave us a review. We want to know what you think of the show, and we want to help you. And it really does help us. It doesn't just help us feel good about our day, but it really does. It like lights up my face when I see a good review about the show. But it also helps our bosses at AfterBuzz TV know we're doing a good job. It helps the other people that are looking at different podcasts know that we're doing a good job. It helps us stay relevant, and it helps us be on the front of potential guests that we might want to bring on. There's some stuff in the works. Can we tease anything yet?
Not just yet.
Okay.
But we will be able to next week.
But by giving us good reviews, that is helping us to get cool guests on the show,
course.
to answer the questions that you want to know about. So please go on to iTunes, hit us with a review, and the bonus is you get a shout out if you give us a review. So I want to give a quick shout out to some people. Jonas Tyler, great podcast for a great show. Synergy.
That's
Ooh,
nice.
Hashtag Synergy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Buffy VS says, great podcast. I'm so glad that AfterBuzz is covering this show. The hosts and quality are awesome. Thanks.
Thank you,
go.
Buffy
Thank
VS.
Wow.
Rocking the podcast. Born from Born ... again.
Oh, nice.
I guess the Resurrection fans.
Yeah.
Not sure about the TV show, but liking the podcast. Watching the pilot of Resurrection and getting too much under the dome vibe.
Hey, what's
But
wrong
they're-
with
but
Under the
sticking with
Dome?
it. But they're sticking with it.
Okay.
Podcast rocks with Matt on board.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Love the AfterBuzz.
Matt's okay. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
Matt.
he's all right.
I enjoy having
We'll turn
Matt
his
here.
mic down.
Yeah. Don't turn me down.
And
I
then
like-
this one for totally selfish reasons was like my favorite review.
Of course.
Oh, here we go.
Read it.
Tony Movie 1979 says, good job, guys. Zach is a great host. 2 new panelists are great too. G. Madison and Chelsea.
Hey.
Ooh, nice.
I think that's the first person that shouted me off for being a great host. And I truly, truly appreciate
Drink in this moment, Zach. It's important.
Slowly.
Sip it.
I do
Sip this
want to
moment.
shout out one person from our YouTube comments. Lily Purr mentions that she says, in the pilot, doesn't it show Marty with his wife in a picture? Not to say that it can't happen between Mag and him, but yeah. We looked it up. Matt and I went back and rewatched the pilot, and there is a picture of him and a woman
on his desk, and it's shattered when he's playing with that
And
ball.
he's not wearing a wedding ring.
He's not wearing a wedding ring, and he has an awful lot of free time.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
someone
no
who's
one's
married.
calling him asking where he
To
is.
play racquetball.
He mentions that in that moment that she basically left him.
Right.
For somebody with more, he puts it ambition, and his coworker points out that he's talking about money.
Yes.
So so it's a good question because there's clearly some kind of romantic background to him that they didn't just throw that in. I think that's going to be important as we go forward. We still don't know about Marty's backstory.
We don't
We
really
don't know about his
anything
past.
about Marty.
Yeah.
I mean, we get a little bit of Marty and Maggie
Flirting action.
Margie.
Yeah,
Margie.
Margie.
Yuck.
Yeah.
I hate those.
We're gonna have to find a better one for
I
them.
know.
Yeah, but it's crazy how we follow
Mag-gerty.
him through this whole storyline, and he's the one person who we don't know anything about.
He does ask her out in this episode.
Yeah.
Finally.
which
For a
then she has
casual
to,
dinner.
yeah, casual dinner, but we know what's up. There's like smiles back and forth.
She didn't wear short shorts apropos of nothing.
And his tail was definitely between his legs walking back to the car.
Yeah. Oh, poor Marty.
I'm almost worried though, because it's getting out so quickly that makes me worry that
What do you
something's
mean?
going to go wrong. Like, this is
something's-
happening so quickly, it makes me worry that something's going to go wrong soon.
No.
I'm never dating
don't-
you. Because you just think, oh man, if I take you out to dinner, you just would think
This
that
is
I'm
why
gonna.
my relationships are not on television. Well, sorry, Matt. What do you?
No, look. I understand your fears. I know you very well. You've watched a lot of television. When a romance is introduced this early, there's going to be a complication later in the season. I'm pretty sure, just throwing this out there, that it's going to be her mom returning. And that's going to kind of put her off dating for a little while as her world is completely rocked.
Well, so far we've at the end, like in each episode, we've met one more returned.
Yeah.
And that's been, I mean, so if we follow that pattern, maybe episode 4, we do meet Barbara.
Yeah.
It would
think we'll see
certainly
her really
rock
soon.
Yeah, I
a
think
lot
Barbara's
of the
coming.
show, but we'll save that all for predictions.
Let's do
That's
that.
big predictions. We'll
Sorry,
talk about it
Zach.
later.
Don't be sorry, don't
I'm in
I
the
want to
dog.
talk
Don't
about
apologize.
Ray and his theories.
Let's do it.
Ray very quickly he's searching. He thinks he knows what's up when they find him like watching them at the woods and those holes, which again, so much in this episode.
So weird.
Wow.
But Ray, so they're digging for those holes, and Ray didn't dig all those, right?
I don't think
I don't
so.
think
No.
so.
He was
I
very
think Caleb
sweaty.
100% did.
I think they were Caleb holes.
Yeah.
We know that Caleb dug the one with the mask, and
I think he did all
it
of
seems
them.
to reason he dug more looking for the money that he
Right.
couldn't find. I just wonder if then Ray was digging, looking for whatever Caleb was looking for.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think when they first introduced Ray, I was totally turned off by his character. Total nut job. I still think he's a little crazy, but I really do think that he's onto something.
Or just that there's something wrong with these people, that we shouldn't trust them, or what do you mean?
I think he definitely, I feel like he's the only one that realizes that Caleb is clearly not here for the right reasons, or he has a huge backstory. I feel like no one else has called out Caleb's, what he's doing here.
I don't want to make Ray into like an animal or anything, but it's almost like when you walk in the house or you walk with someone and the dog who's nice to everyone starts to bark at someone.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, wait, what is it about this person? And I
Yeah.
feel like that's the feeling I get from Ray, where Ray is normally just happy-go-lucky, kind of on his own, on his own step.
Well, I don't think-
and then now he's kind of
His
barking, he's kind
intuition
of
is
growling a
just
little bit,
kicking.
and it's kind of pointing direction at these people, especially at Caleb, to say, don't let your guard
here's the
down around him
thing.
too
Yeah.
much.
He's obviously been investigating his father's death since his dad died.
Right.
He
That's true.
didn't just
That's
get
true.
these clippings. So these suspicions, it's a huge shock to see your father walking around again, but he already kind of assumed that there was a conspiracy involving their
Aliens.
deaths. He may have been expecting some kind of return for a very long time, which seems crazy, but here they are.
Yeah. And Ray, the thing is, I don't think he is very happy-go-lucky. They talk about last month he thought the mailman was working for the NSA. He's a paranoid schizophrenic to a certain extent.
Do you
mailman
think he
was
was-
working for the NSA?
Maybe he is. I mean, Ray is very. Ray is mentally disturbed.
Clearly.
He is.
Yes.
He has. Some,
He's a conspiracy theorist.
But there's some
Yeah,
clarity
but-
there too.
but
That's-
not just
See,
a
that's what I
conspiracy
think so,
theorist.
too.
He's got a. There's something
Going on.
misfiring. He has some sort of disability, but I think that may aid him in seeing through this in
what I'm
ways
saying.
that everybody else is not.
Exactly.
Much like G was talking about the dog theory. There's a certain sixth sense that Ray is having because he's not focused on what he's seeing in the front of his brain. He's just seeing with the back, seeing with his instincts. His instincts tell him, don't trust this person.
And it doesn't help to have done so much research since his dad died. For sure, I think that it's kind of a preconceived idea, and then here it is in front of you. Like, this must be what I've been reading about, and what puzzle pieces I've been putting together all these years anyway.
Well, there's the B&E and stuff that's going on around his father's death that we pretty much feel like Caleb is probably responsible. He's not a clean guy. He's not exactly free of crime.
Right.
But the other stuff that Ray talks about going on that day that not only did the two of them die in the river, Caleb died much later, but on that same day that they died in the river, a plane crashed. With,
or something
and 3
crashed.
people died. Now Ray jumps to a wild conclusion that it's aliens, and I don't think that that's going a track that we're going down. But where are those people those other 3 people that died? I think that the fact that they died on the same day is not a coincidence, and that we may see those people yet.
Did they crash in the river?
No,
We
I
just
said
know
the
it was
next
somewhere.
town.
Yeah, it was somewhere nearby, but Caleb didn't die in the river either.
Right.
Yeah. Although here was a confusion that I had, and I'm fully ready to admit that I was wrong when I said that he died while driving. But I feel like last episode they said something
They did
about
say-
he actually said that he had a heart attack while he was driving. That's what he said.
But in this one, they say that he was at his hunting shack.
Right.
Yeah. So what
we
was
either-
it?
Someone says that he was at his hunting shack. Yeah.
That's true.
Maggie says,
Maggie
that
says that.
that's how she knew the story. Now, we've already seen one case where the death was just people drew the conclusions from the evidence they had, and that was just wrong. Where,
Yeah, they're playing telephone.
where with Jacob and Barbara at the river, and the man and Jacob is able to give new details that totally fit the evidence. So we see a new version of the story. Completely changes people's perspective on it.
Well, let's remember the person who found Caleb at the hunting lodge with a massive coronary was his partner in crime, who he murdered in last episode.
Yes.
So then it begs the question: did he have a coronary, or was he maybe poisoned somehow?
It's always possible. They wouldn't necessarily, if they didn't suspect foul play for other reasons, they
might
be
not have
looking
looked for it.
a needle point, and that's all it needs.
Right.
So it's all you need to poison somebody and fake a heart attack.
Yeah.
Or something in your drink. I mean, it could have been a lot of different things.
But
I
if
mean-
you're not looking for it, then
Right.
you know.
And
you
when we
might
just
miss
call
it.
it a day.
and when we first catch up to Caleb in this episode, Marty's grilling him about it.
Hard.
He is.
But
not,
as he should.
Yeah, I mean he's got a big rap sheet, B&E.
Yeah.
He's still copper wire from a retirement home. Like, not a nice guy.
He's kind of outside of his jurisdiction. Way outside, though.
Oh yeah, but
Marty?
that doesn't.
Yeah, it's kind of like, who
He
are you?
is,
You're in my
but-
house questioning me, and you're immigration? Like, what?
Yeah.
He's
Throwing his weight around where he shouldn't be. He
Right.
needs to watch it because this is 2 episodes in a row that he's doing that.
But Marty makes a good point where he's talking about, like, he in his experience as a cop,
Yeah.
which is a new reveal for
These
us. that
kinds of
Marty's got.
guys-
These kinds of people don't change.
yeah.
They just don't. They don't learn from their mistakes. Which Caleb responds by saying, like, that's a pretty pessimistic view of the world. That
We
nobody
didn't doubt
can
that
change.
anyway, though.
Yeah.
We didn't doubt that anyway. He just killed someone last episode. We didn't doubt that he was the same as he could have been before.
But what are his motives behind all that?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, because he talks about being brought back to protect his family. What are the threats?
Protect them from what?
From his family. Yeah, what are
Right.
what if this guy, now that Caleb's back, is going to come after all of them for something that the family may be completely unaware of?
Yeah.
I just don't see that come. I don't see that as a threat. He was shocked to see Caleb alive before Caleb wailed on him with that hammer. He was
Yeah.
stunned. He had
Yeah.
no idea that these people were coming back. He hadn't touched the family in years. He hadn't gone near them. He had moved to another town. He's in.
And bought a house?
Or no, I'm confused. Sam is the one who lives in Newton. The partner didn't live in Newton.
But what's
Right.
really eerie is about that whole conversation is how it ends with Caleb, and he says it's not going to end well for that kid. He sort of talks about this is finally somebody's acknowledging the fact that these people are something brand new to the world, and why hasn't the government? I guess because nobody's reported it in. Marty's not calling it in yet, but why hasn't anybody reported that there's a scientific anomaly in this tiny little town that somebody should probably be studying medically
Right.
at a much higher level, like with big CAT scans and
Well,
MRIs?
who's gonna believe
Yeah.
that? I mean, who would they send? Do you know?
Bill Nye?
I don't think he's contracted by the government, and he would also cause too much of a scene. Celebrity.
Fair.
Yeah.
They would go crazy.
Yeah. But I don't know, who do you send if you get that call? Do you send anybody, or do you think that they're crackpots?
Well, you send in the government. You send in the people with the big jackets, big black jackets and
Yeah,
big
but
guns.
they don't have. There's no paper manual on what to do in this situation.
Right.
So I think they'd be just completely useless as we would.
In
this,
case of an alien invasion.
Yeah, it's do steps 1 through 10.
Yeah. Nah, maybe not.
Well, I think they have to send somebody. Like Marty's trying to sort of hiding it right now.
Yeah.
Because they've already found this kid, and they've just handed this kid over to these people, assuming that they're his parents, even though he died.
Genetically, they.
Yeah, I mean that alone. I mean, there's your proof right there. That's enough to get a government level scientist involved.
I think so too. But the fact that he's keeping it from everyone, I think that he knows that if he says something too loudly, I'm sure that it may just get shut down altogether.
The whole town will just get like, I mean, not like under the dome, but like quarantined, like you know, like the dome in.
They get shut down.
The dome in Outbreak.
I mean, you have the guys in white suits like E.T. just swarming to take Jacob away.
Yeah.
I just don't think, I don't know, something to me is just that's so not the direction that we're about to go. I think more than half of this battle that it's setting us up for, obviously you need reasons and clues and solid facts how these people are coming back from the death. But at the same time, I feel like it's such a mental game, you know, and who believes and who doesn't. And for me, that's what the show is about. You know, you have the Lucille's and then you have the Henrys, you know, and everything kind of in between. So to me, it's more so of a total mindset as opposed to, well, when I ran this test, this is how this person is back to life, even though his remains are here and blah, 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 blah.
Well, I think you hit on a good point there because it is who believes. And like, if you do believe, what does that do? Because there's a lot of fear that comes in believing it or not believing it. And we see that
at the
personified.
church.
Yeah, exactly. At the church. And Helen, the woman who like took her kid away when Jacob went to play last week, she goes up to Pastor Tom and she doesn't want Lucille and Jacob in the church.
She's stirring the coffee, boy.
And she brings that to
Helen's got to go.
She brings that to the board. I mean, we have a really sweet scene with Tom and Jacob where these like Jacob's drawing and he's like, "Oh, you should totally do the unicorn fighting the werewolf."
Yeah, that was
Isn't that cool?
That was cool.
They're old buddies. Like, yeah, it's weird that the age difference is now completely different, but these were best friends at one time. But there's a paranoid fear from the church because, and they say like, what if, are you sure that Pastor Tom says like God will show us the way with this, and she says, what if he's not the one behind it? Which is something I think everyone is thinking, like, this is somebody reborn, it's so miraculous, there must be something bad behind it.
Wow, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But that's scary that people jump immediately to the pessimistic side, that they're so scared of something new and miraculous that they instantly believe they're scared of it. They're scared.
Instantly are shutting it down in the church, which is
push them away. Something we don't, the unknown, push it away.
Right.
I think it's the human. This is the way that we are in our society.
It's the fear of the other.
This is or the fear of the unknown for sure. Yeah. And it sucks that they're showing it in the church. I think it's a great mirror for our society right now, actually. It's interesting.
So now Jacob has been pushed. I mean, it's what you expect from any Judeo-Christianic religion, that you want to reach out to the people that you think might need your help, not push them away. Bring them in, save them.
Exactly.
Don't.
Well, here's
them.
the big pressing question from Helen is, she says to Tom, you're assuming that he came from God. What if he came from the other place?
Yeah.
You know, what if this is Satan trying to tempt us? Which, I mean, entirely valid, because we have very few real answers. And if this is a spiritual question, we can't assume that they're here for the right reasons, because why would they pick Caleb?
Right. I see where you're going with that, and I do agree with you, but I think at the same time, maybe the way that they handled it with the secret board meeting and Helen,
100%
so
the wrong way of going about it, but that's more Helen than it is about the position we need to actively consider that dark forces may be behind
could be
their return.
And but the board just decides that he's evil without they don't even invite in a party that might think otherwise.
This is a small town. They're just they're concerned with protecting their own. And as of right now, until they see more proof that they can understand and accept, these returned people
not theirs.
are not theirs. They are not us. They are something else. They could be potentially dangerous, and we don't want them mixing with our kind.
people.
Exactly, which is the worst and a completely backwards position.
Yes.
But you understand why they're reaching that conclusion, even if we can't agree with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, like, if you look at, I'm trying to find a pattern in who's been brought back, because so far we have Jacob, an innocent little boy. So the redemption theory's out, because what does Jacob have to be redeemed for? You have Caleb, a criminal dad who wants to protect his kids, but didn't do a very good job at like being a family man at the time. And now the new returned Rachel, who it looks like
maybe a former flame of Pastor Tom.
I believe it. Yeah, it looks like a former fiance of Pastor Tom who died. We don't know how yet.
Yeah.
But she died. She's back, and she asked the question. It's very interesting to see her reaction to it, because we don't know her story, but she seems like a good person.
She's so upset.
She's kind of reacting kind of like Jacob did in a little bit.
When she asked, did I really die?
Can I throw out another theory that may be less far-fetched?
You may.
Absolutely.
Okay. What if, just on the base notion of it, all of the people who came back, they came back because people who knew them in their lives before need them to. On some level, the Langstons need to have Jacob back in their lives so that they can deal with a death that ultimately they never dealt with properly. Caleb is coming back because these kids needed a father, and maybe he needs to redeem himself in that, and Ray needs to be able to move on past this stuff. And maybe Tom made the wrong choice. He married someone that maybe he shouldn't have, and he needs to face that.
We still haven't met his wife.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think who that person is going to play a big role in whether or not what I'm saying has any merit at all.
It's such a scary thing to think about. Somebody that they left your life. She left his life for nobody did anything wrong on either side, presumably. Like, we still don't know that whole story, but I'm assuming that they had a good relationship up until this point, up until the point that she died, and he moves on.
Who are you talking about?
Rachel.
Oh,
Rachel and Pastor Tom.
Okay.
Sorry. They had a good relationship up to this point, but then she passes away, and he moves on. He has to move on with his life. I see. The thing is, like, I think that what's different there is that I think Lucille and Henry, yes, they're always going to be sad at the death of a child. How could they ever not be? But I felt like the way we met them, they were in a fairly good place. They weren't still mourning. They weren't doing anything unhealthy. They seemed to be fairly happy. So I don't know that it's about things that are unresolved in that case, unless there's stuff we haven't seen before. That's why it's tough, because there's no discernible pattern between these three people.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Except for the first two and the river.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the big question. And let's talk real briefly something complete, like a little bit different track, but Fred and Sam.
Yes, let's talk
go.
about
That awesome scene. He walks in, he's just wearing his baseball cap, no cop gear. He's like there unofficially.
But his gun is there. His gun was
His gun was tucked into the back of his pants.
But it was kind of out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh man, I wonder if he knew.
That's my big question.
If he was there.
Did he know that Sam was there?
No, absolutely not.
No,
I think he totally did.
Absolutely knew.
He knew
it was a challenge.
He walks in there. He says, "I haven't been to Newton in a while. Give me a whiskey," straight up. And then with no provocation, nobody asks how his day's going. Nobody asks what he's doing there. He just goes into his tirade.
I
For the whole
bartended for
bar
a
to
long
hear.
time. The stories when people sit down, this is why I'm looking at it differently. As a bart, you don't ask. You know what I mean? People just start talking without.
But did you see her face though?
But this is a small town. I think that they're aware of who he is. He may not have been to Newton in a while, but he's the
Sheriff.
law of that town. They know who he is, whether or not he's wearing a cop uniform. And he just goes and he starts loudly, very loudly and pronounced, talking about how he is going. He seems to, at first it seems like he's just venting.
Yeah.
And then he goes like, if I just saw, I wanted him to be the one so that I could take my revenge on him. But even though he's not,
him to know.
even though he's not, if I see his face.
If he shows his face to me,
and he makes a point of saying, there isn't a town in this state where I couldn't find him.
Yeah.
I would kill him.
He's sitting down the bar from him.
If I see his face, I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah.
Is basically what he says.
Which is kind of like that guy who wants to fight and says, "I'm gonna beat you up," and then pushes you or gets in your face like this.
He was swinging his dick a little bit.
Yep.
He wanted him to
swaying
know
that thing.
He wanted him to know. I know where to find you. I know you slept with my wife.
But what is
You
that?
better believe that I have a gun.
But why? But why do that? When you have,
because he's grappling with something huge here.
He's not a guy who makes empty threats though.
No. This is a guy who has power, who has a gun. We don't know if he has killed people before in the line of duty. He finds out that his wife, who he has been canonizing as Saint Barbara all these years, mourning the loss of his beautiful, saintly wife.
Who died trying to save his nephew.
Who he wasn't good enough to when she was alive with her postpartum depression. And then he finds out that she was sleeping around with this guy. He knows who he is. He's too arrogant and he's too much of a dick not to rub it in his face like, look, pal, if I see you come around, I will kill you. I can kill you. I wish you had murdered my wife so that I could get away with it.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
That's huge.
Heavy.
Some dark stuff there.
Exactly.
And see, that makes me feel, because I really trust this guy. I really know that he will do what he says he will do. Right? I just feel that from him. I feel like he may not know that he was there, because he would have just taken him outside. He would have just waited in the car and got him when he came out.
Yeah.
He would have finished the deal.
I feel like he was sending a message. This is a guy who has years of anger about losing his wife pent up inside of him.
Oh, yeah, I can feel
and
it
now
too.
he has a place where he could put all of that anger. But now he has no legal recourse.
Yes.
So he's just making it known, like, dude, you are the luckiest guy in the world because I can't kill you, but you better believe that I would if I could.
This is him. He's just like unzips his pants, bam, slaps it on the table.
This is my dick. It shoots bullets.
That's exactly what he's doing here. He is saying he's daring him. He is daring him to do anything.
Because
you're
what?
right.
He says, show
I don't
your
know.
face.
I don't.
He knows.
I don't agree.
He knows who he is. He knows who he is because
I just feel like
Henry
at this
told
point,
him.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, he knows who he is. He can find out where he lives. Like we said, it's not like they're living in New York City.
Yeah.
You know, it's a town of 50 people. So
It's not a town of 50 people.
51.
Jacob's back. But what I'm saying is, if he wanted to do something, he would go and do it. I don't think he
That's
needed
what I'm
to
saying.
make this huge dramatic thing in a bar to say, "I will kill you." And I don't think it
He's
matters
still a
if
police
he's a cop.
officer.
But I don't think that matters, because anyone who's in a relationship, let alone a marriage, if there was any sort of cheating going on, that person's going to be very angry, regardless if you have a cop badge or not. You're going to want to seek some sort of revenge, whether you do it or not. That feeling's there.
I agree.
So, I don't know.
It's going to be interesting to see how their dynamic evolves as we go. Let's go quickly into some news and gossips for a ratings check.
Okay.
AfterBuzz TV News.
The ratings came in. I only really have the initial numbers, but those were staggering, even without the DVR. 11.25 million viewers
that's so
initially.
cool. Oh my gosh!
At airtime, that's enormous for a second episode to carry over.
Amazing.
From 17 million down to 11 million. It's huge numbers. I know at TV by the Numbers, the cancellation bear on it is saying like it's already predicting a renewal for season 2.
Right.
There you go.
I don't think ABC is planning a back 9 for this. I think I think they planned it out for a 13 episode season, but it sounds like with these kind of numbers, there's no way that they could cancel it.
Right.
Yes.
Good.
The second week, it remained strong in the demo as well, in the 18 to 49 demo. It got a 3.8 in its premiere rating, but then the second episode got a 3.1. Only 0.7 of a point drop,
Decline, yeah.
which is huge.
Cool.
I mean, it's a good show, and the previews, especially for like the upcoming stuff, leave us with so much like intrigue every week. And so with that, let's talk about predictions.
Yes.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
It's so much creepier with this show because there's like real
So
ghosts
creepy.
in here
I
involved
know.
here.
Well, I think the biggest thing that's going to be coming down in the next episode is the crime scene that Caleb totally left behind.
We didn't even talk about that.
He didn't
That's
clean up the
horrible.
body.
Oh, you mean
Marty
that
finds
dead body
it.
and
Yeah.
blood everywhere?
Exactly. Which, like, I mean, G, you said it best when you quoted me from last episode when you're like,
Did you just do that?
Yes, I did. Where you said, you know, Caleb may be a criminal, but he's not necessarily a good one or a smart one.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like the first rule of murder is you hide the evidence.
And you don't
big
leave
dummy.
and you don't leave all the holes open like that. You put the things back to show that you're not looking for something. Yeah,
Which he was
And
washing
you
the
don't-
hammer when Marty came over.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
horrible.
And you don't leave the mask in the ground for
Right.
people to find.
Or
Right.
the body.
Right. So
Lame.
in the preview, we do see
oh my gosh.
we do see Caleb being drawn down on by Fred, you know, who's got his shotgun. So
Yeah.
there's going to be a nice little investigation on that
Which
end.
I think they're going to be pretty quick to know what happened and
Yep.
who's behind it.
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And, you know, Caleb just needs to learn about DNA evidence. Also, Caleb shows up at Elaine's job, which is the same bank that he robbed before he died. Probably looking for records on her computer.
You see him on that computer?
Yeah.
He was like,
Exactly.
I mean, he only died 13 years ago. They had computers back then.
Yeah.
They had the internet back then.
he was
just
excited how
impressed
fast
by-
it was
Yeah,
moving.
yeah. He was getting
other-
stuff done.
Is this Roadrunner? What is
Yeah.
this?
The other big thing, funny. The other big thing is Jacob says that he can feel Caleb.
Right, that's
Yeah,
huge.
that's huge.
That means that there is something biologically connected between them, like twins in a way.
Yes.
If you assume, if we go into that analogy, if they're grown from the same seeds, from the same like egg, but then like their DNA is inserted and they grow into this being. If we go back to your
Yeah.
crazy clone theory,
Crazy.
Stay away from that one.
it's crazy, but there could be a nugget of truth in there that could inform us where we get into it a little bit more
We
later.
know they're connected. We just don't know how yet.
Yes.
Oh, well, they're clearly connected. It's by
Right.
what? Are they sharing some new synthetic soul of some kind? That's a random, almost human reference.
Yeah.
But
Synthetic soul? Are they clones? Is it alien stuff? Or did God or the devil send them back with some kind of holy or unholy mission? We really don't know.
And my prediction is that they were something kind of an homage to a Trojan horse, right? Where they're just kind of the shell of a human, and they just kind of implanted or inserted with this information in this past
Yeah.
that they would use to kind of get back into
to
these lives
infiltrate the human race.
is
Right.
there an invasion of whatever the returned are
Of humans.
coming?
Yeah.
And we won't know until until next week. We'll get a little bit
I'm
more.
excited.
All right. Let's Chelsea Briche, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at cbriche, CBRICHE.
Find me on Instagram at G Madison. That's GMADISON and the number 4.
All right. And you can find me on Twitter at Matt Lieberman, MATTLIEBERMAN. You can also go to my YouTube channel where you can find all my videos, sketches, AfterBuzz TV shows, and my videos for my new gig over at SourceFed.
Woo! You guys can find me online at @ZachWilson on Twitter or on Instagram, and you can also catch me here on AfterBuzz on Helix. We got the big finale, like last 2 episodes coming up with Matt Lieberman on Grimm and Archer. That's gonna do it for Resurrection. I'm Zach Wilson, and thanks for geeking out with us.
All right.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.